Alright guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew. Now what I want to talk about today are two things, that being Fieldcraft and survival. Now, I'm of the opinion that the Army does a poor job of handing down fieldcraft and survival skills to new soldiers because we have a heavy reliance on our sustainment and logistics networks around the world to be able to conduct operations. Now, obviously, survival and fieldcraft are things I take very seriously. As a 20-year infantryman, I understand going out into the field and operating and being able to affect survival if I have to, and then utilizing fieldcraft techniques to make my time in the wilderness that much more comfortable so I can operate for that much longer. Now, as a result of this, I went ahead and put together a survival kit from items located inside the PX or post exchange, and then clothing and sales on the military base nearby. But we'll take these items, make a survival kit from items that are available to lean on, because I think the institutional knowledge of fieldcraft and survival is going down, which means we have to rely more on a kit. But we have a pretty good kit here that can fit inside a small pouch that is also inside a quart-sized bag. Very easy to carry, can slip inside a cargo pocket and take in the event we have to survive off the landscape. Now, before we dive into our survival kit that we picked up, let's take a look just briefly at items that soldiers are going to have, or at least infantrymen are going to have on their flick or their load-bearing equipment as part of field training and then as operations. It's things to shoot, move, communicate, and then medicate. So we're obviously going to have water and then ammo back here. Inside of its sleeve, I'm going to have a knife of some sort, whether that's a folder that goes in your pocket or a fixed blade like this on our kit. We'll have ways to signal to illustrate here with just a simple IR strobe for nighttime operations that we can use to signal aircraft or signal friendly units. And typically we will have paracord or hank of cordage, and then a headlamp to see at nighttime, to read maps, do all that good stuff. Have a lensatic compass as part of our land navigation kit. Now we have our IFAK and then a tourniquet held on here with Ranger bands. It makes it that much easier. Just grab centrally, find our tourniquet, pull it off. Then we can simply take our tourniquet and then apply it quickly, high and tight. Tighten it down, apply our tourniquet, and then continue the fight or whatever we're doing. But we have that tourniquet centrally located on our body, so we can grab it with either hand and then be able to apply it quickly to any extremity to stop serious bleeding from a catastrophic wound. Need it. Inside our IFAK, we have basic medical items to stop bleeding at the source and treat a casualty in a combat scenario. So we have Israeli bandage, we have gloves, gauze, nasopharyngeal, that's a tube that goes up your nose. You got an eye patch to put over ocular injury, and then if you're a good infantryman, casualty feeder card with all the information already filled out for data and administrative data for doc, so we can just fill out the injury and treatment process and then hand this off to the next line of care. Then on the back, we'll have our leader's pocket, where we have our map and our protractor to go along with our compass to be able to land navigate. And depending on where we're at or the need, most times we'll have some sort of camo compact here to camouflage ourselves in the surrounding environment. So we have a small pouch just to hold the contents of the survival kit, or the infantryman survival kit here, and put together. It's just a old DCU medic pouch. Shows you how old I am. Then we can just pull out all of our components that fit into this nice quart-sized bag. Our kit is out. Now we're going to go down the list of 7 priorities of survival, because some of these priorities we're going to lean more heavily upon as opposed to others, just given the nature of the situation and a lot of the gear we would already have in a military survival scenario. So for our land navigation items, we already have our lensetic compass, a protractor, and then our map to be able to conduct land navigation. However, there's some items that we can pick up that I recommend that I've had it for a while. Now, with a map, we can print out a copy of the map we're going to be using, paper copy, waterproof it, and throw that in our kit. But we can also pick up a spare compass. This happens to be the M9 Suunto wrist compass. All we have to do is put this on our hand. Now, it is kind of difficult to use because we're going to read this thing backwards. Now, as a quick tutorial for our wrist compass here, here's our lensetic facing north. Now, when I hold up the wrist compass, you'll notice that 0 degrees is down here, which is facing south on our lensetic, and then 180 degrees, the black arrow, is at the top where the 0 degrees would be, or due north. This compass is backwards because we're going to be looking at it like a wristwatch and rotating our bodies as opposed to rotating the compass until we find north. So the red arrow is down here in the doghouse to indicate the actual direction or azimuth that we're facing. So 0 degrees is here, meaning we are facing north still, we haven't moved, and south is our back azimuth at the top. Now if we were to rotate ourselves, and then 180 degrees down here at the bottom of our wrist compass, meaning that we are now facing 180 degrees, back azimuth of 0 degrees. All right, so we're leaning heavy on tools for our survival kit just to give us that extra edge. We have a lot of tools in here. Some things will be carried on our person, some things will go inside the kit. But we have 3 different types of cordage. We have Kevlar cordage, that smaller type of paracord, and then zip ties to be used for whatever purposes we need with that cordage. Just got that handy dandy handcuff key that we can have with us for escape if necessary. Small razor blade, surgical razor blade, processing game, or for other tasks. Then we have just a small capsule or container with a fishing and sewing kit inside, as well as a small ceramic razor for fishing and then repairing clothing as well. Everybody's favorite, one of these Commando saws. Now the saws, you got to get the ones with the barbs on them like this, and then we create handles with paracord. We can use this to cut toggles down and then fashion toggles to add to this Commando saw. Now if we don't have a Commando saw, we can still make a saw from wire. We can locate wire within our area. I'm in a rural area, a lot of farm animals, a lot of chickens, a lot of chicken wire. So I can find chicken wire like this, and this is from the top section as it's rolled out. You want to take that because it's the strongest and it's all wrapped together already for us. We just take this in between 2 toggles, twist it, until we're left with something like this. You can see that this is a very strong wire. It's wrapped 4 times around, so it's very strong. We can use this, especially on greener wood, to actually take down material and process it to make different things or different instruments that we might need. But this is a way to make a Commando saw that works. Probably the best way to do this is to cut down a green flexible branch and then figure out a way to attach this saw to that green branch and create a Commando saw with a bow saw and use it as just a regular bow saw to chop down or take down material for processing and survival. Chicken wire saw to cut down this limb. You notice this bright white spot with fresh sawdust on it from our saw. Now, a technique to reduce the chances of this being discovered or interpreted as new by a tracker, a little bit of counter tracking, is to take some fresh dirt from the earth, like this stuff, rub it over top to make it appear old, and then reconceal our dig from where we dug up that little bit of dirt. And now that bright white spot from our saw is gone, and this looks older and will be less noticeable or interpreted as an old sign for any trackers that may be pursuing us. But having this and knowing how to use it gives us a good tool to process materials and create tools with. All right, next we have wire or snare wire. We can cut this down with our multi-tool and then create snares. Next, just having a good folder or some sort of utility knife that we can put in our pocket or have on our person as part of our kit. And then a mini multi-tool like this squirt that we can use to cut wire, process different materials, and then have this available as just another set of hands for survival. We can do a lot of things with a multi-tool like this. All right, everybody's favorite fire. So we've got our Stormproof matches. These are great. You can pick this up just about anywhere, but there's Stormproof matches available inside the PX and Clothing and Sales, I believe, with a waterproof match case. Matches are still a good go-to out in the field for starting fires. Next we have our Fresnel Lens, or Fresnel Lens. We can take this, use it with the sun's rays to start a fire if absolutely necessary. All we have to do is crush up a leaf or some fine tinder and then use this with the sun's rays to build a small ember in our debris bundle or our tinder bundle, and then ignite that into flame by adding oxygen, and we've got a fire started. We can use somebody's eyeglasses, especially somebody with really poor vision. Just take them, break the glasses. As long as we have tape, we can tape them back together so that person can see or we can see. Place the exterior of the lens together, and then we can use it similarly to ignite material inside of our tinder bundle. Eyeglasses. Probably the easiest one to find is just a simple lighter. We've got our lighter we can use to start fires. Wrap it with 100-mile-an-hour tape. This is going to substitute a lot of band-aids for our first aid kit. We can use duct tape or 100-mile-an-hour tape as improvised bandages in a survival scenario long enough to move to that next level of care. We've got our ferro rod. This has replaced the magnesium bar. In my opinion, the magnesium bar is still a good fire starting tool, but that ferro rod, instant gratification, especially when we have things like man-made tinder like this wet fire that will light any conditions, and then we can easily put this out by extinguishing it with our hand or a glove very quickly to stop out that flame and keep that tinder and make it last just a little bit longer. And then lastly, something to recommend is a Esbit cube or two. We can use our matches or even our ferro rod or our lighter to light this cube and make a hot drink very quickly inside a concealed fire pit. That way we can warm our bodies, get something hot and nourishing into our systems, and then keep moving. Alright, so we'll do food and water together. For water, we just have one of those Whirl-Pad bags. Alright, I've since transitioned away from the condoms there, and we've got water tabs inside this bag folded up. And this will hold a liter of water with 6 tabs to purify 6 liters of water. Or we have water tablets, either by issue or picked up at the store. We can use these to help purify water, adding a tablet to a quart, waiting 30 minutes, making sure we bleed the cap, and then we can consume that water once it's safe. And then for food, just a small food rations here with electrolyte drink to replenish fluids once we have our water treated. Got an energy bar, got about 200 calories or so in it, plus a lot of fat and protein, and then basically just some energy gel that can rehydrate us as well as give us vitamins, and then a lot of carbohydrates and sugar with a little bit of caffeine to keep us going in a survival situation. All right, opportunity training. Now, we're gonna get into this can without using any of our tools. Now, this first step, we can use our feet or we can use a rock. Foot technique is to simply stop in the middle of the can, flip it over, stop again, and continue this process until we rupture the can. All right, can is ruptured, and we keep working this can back and forth until we get all that liquid. Give us a little air pocket. We've opened the can, and we can get to the food inside. So here's our kit. Most of these items can be picked up either at our supply or at Clothing and Sales or inside the PX. Now, we have a panel from a VS-17 panel with the OD green still on one side. See, we just took that top section. We've got this giant panel we can use to signal with the OD green to help conceal it as best as possible. That's from our supply. A Fox 40 whistle here for auditory signal picked up at the PX. Got our signaling mirror, can pick this up at the PX. Big advocate for signaling mirrors. We got 2 Chemlights this time for our buzz saws or passive and active signals. All we do for the buzz saw, if you remember, is undo the string, crack the Chemlight, and then spin this in the direction of rescue, creating that buzz saw effect. But now we have an IR one as well, the purple being IR. Pick those up from supply. And then we have glint tape and a loom tape. We have a loom tape, which is kind of a softer signal at nighttime that we can use with a map marker to write on as well. But then we have glint tape, which can be used as just a active signal at nighttime. We had small pieces like this along with a piece of VS-17 panel, the orange, for small signals in small team units during training. And then lastly, one thing I like, instead of going with just a small little button pen light, we have a nice big headlamp. This is just the E-Lite. It's got strobe settings on it. You can take this and use it to see at nighttime, but then also use the strobe settings for a passive signal at nighttime. And then on top of that, the headband comes with just another whistle for auditory signal if we drop our Fox 40. And here's our kit for shelter, just Paracord and then a Mylar Blanket. These items, very small, fit in our pockets if we can construct an emergency shelter very quickly. But usually we're going to have sleeping bags, we're going to have a lot of the other gear necessary to erect a hooch or a shelter and sleep underneath that with all of our gear. But if we're left without everything, we just have our survival kit. This will help get us a shelter, and then combined with debris, we'll be able to stay warm through the night. Something I wanted to share with you was the knife I was issued for survival training. And it was not this exact one, but it was one just like this, the Gerber FML, and that had a whole new meaning during survival training. But this knife was given to me, or issued to me, for survival. Just a big, sturdy knife. But by the time I got it, a million other people had used it, and I could shake that knife like this and it would rattle because so many people had used it, beaten it to death. And this thing, the serrations were all gone, and it was just one basically piece of metal. They gave me a giant sharpening stone and said good luck. And this was better off used as a shovel as opposed to an actual knife. So I relied on smaller blades like in our toolkit here to actually process a lot of material and do a lot of campcraft. And then this big knife that had been abused and used was used for larger tasks. But just wanted to share that with you. This is the knife that I was issued during survival training. So if anybody's interested, they can put this thing to the test, but not the knife I would use or recommend. Alright guys, that does it for this video. A very down and dirty video on my Infantryman survival kit. Now these are items, again, pulled from different military resources, Clothing Sales, PX, and then supply. Put a kit together, fits in a quart-sized bag, and in this small pouch, we can put this in our rucksack or assault bag, or simply take this, put it in our cargo pocket, and move out to effect survival in an austere environment based off the tenets and the principles that we talked about earlier at the beginning of the video. But I hope you guys liked this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me and for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.